The Mariners received some bad news for catcher Tom Murphy in regards to his thumb injury that he's been dealing with. Now, this injury has major ramifications for the rest of the Mariners season, and if Tom can't come back, major ramifications for what could be happening with the backup catcher role over the next couple of weeks and possibly into the playoffs. Tom Murphy has been hurt for over a month now, and obviously we have seen Cal Raleigh out there catching basically every single day, similar to what he did in last September when the Mariners were vying for the playoffs. At the time, the backup catcher was Curt Casale, and now we have Brian O'Keefe and Luis Torrens. Obviously, Brian O'Keefe just went on the paternity list. Congratulations to the O'Keefe family with the birth of their child, and Luis Torrens is back up. Now, there are ramifications to go along with that, but first, let's talk about what happened to Tom Murphy. Ryan Divish posted an article at the Seattle Times saying Mariners in wait-and-see mode on backup catcher Tom Murphy. Divish went on to say, in 11 days, the Mariners will know if catcher Tom Murphy will be available to help in the final weeks of the 2023 season and possibly the postseason. Murphy has been sidelined since August 13th with a thumb injury, and Justin Hollander said he has been shut back down from baseball activity. He has been shut down for about 10 days or so. They have re-put his thumb back in a splint to see if they can create more healing. He'll be re-imaged on the 22nd. If there is healing and if it allows for him to progress back to baseball activities, we think he could re-ramp up fairly quickly, but it'll be about how the x-ray looks on his thumb and about his own tolerance for playing with it. Tom Murphy had taken a foul tip off of his thumb a few days before going on the injured list. The Mariners were hoping that he would come back at the 10-day minimum, but he had been cleared for baseball activity in late August and he still felt discomfort in that thumb. Justin Hollander said that the tendon had been displaced in the thumb and he had a fracture in there as well. Divish goes on to say if doctors don't believe the thumb is healed enough on the 22nd, Tom Murphy will likely get shut down for the rest of the season. So in a season marred by injuries for the Seattle Mariners, it looks like Tom Murphy is the most recent and also one of the most significant. Obviously, Tom Murphy has been the strong side of a right-handed platoon with Cal Raleigh. Cal from the left side, Tom from the right side. Cal, however, has now been thrust into facing both pitchers, which is fine. Cal has been great lately, but that being said, it is hard to overstate how good Tom Murphy has been for this ball club. And then replacing him with, at the time, Brian O'Keefe. Right now it's Luis Torrens, but at the time, Brian O'Keefe. O'Keefe is a great defensive catcher, but the offense is not there for Brian O'Keefe. And now with Luis Torrens on the Major League roster, he's a terrible defensive catcher, and we'll wait and see if the offense is there at all. Obviously, he had a double in his first at-bat back with the Mariners, so hey, we'll see what happens with Luis Torrens. But going down the stretch, you don't want either of those guys starting baseball games for you when you're in such a tight competition for the playoffs like the Mariners are. Cal Raleigh is going to be your everyday guy, and with the off days coming up, hopefully he can get some extra rest in there. We saw Cal last year with his thumb basically hanging off his entire hand play throughout the injury and find his way into baseball and Mariners history with the walk-off home run. So obviously Cal is the guy. In 2023, Tom Murphy is hitting 290, 335, 538 with a 139 WRC+. He's been worth 0.7 WAR. Tom had 8 home runs and 19 RBI, and he has been really good behind the plate as well, while also posting the second lowest strikeout rate of his career. Looking at his splits also, he really hasn't needed to be a platoon, hitting 276 versus lefties and 300 versus righties. Cal, meanwhile, is hitting 235, 313, 474 with a 117 WRC+. He's been worth 4.3 WAR. We all know that Cal has been the power hitter we needed. He's at 28 home runs. He has also struck out under 27.7% K rate, which is the same as Tom Murphy. But for Cal, you could definitely tell that he's a much better hitter versus right-handed pitching. 24 of his 28 home runs have been versus righties. He's hitting 241 versus righties compared to 205 versus lefties. With that being said, in the second half, you can definitely tell that Cal has turned it on. He's hitting 253 in the second half with 17 of his 28 home runs. Cal hit 9 home runs in August while hitting 221, and so far in the month of September, he's hitting 300 with 3 home runs. Obviously, Cal's the guy. We knew that going into this season. He's the one that you want behind the plate, but Tom Murphy complemented him so well, as well as just being a good clubhouse presence and great at handling the pitching staff. Losing Tom Murphy sucks. And again, while Brian O'Keefe and Luis Torrens can be decent backups for Cal Raleigh if you need them to be, Tom Murphy could be a starting catcher on a lot of different teams, and having both those guys gave the Mariners one of the best catching tandems in all of baseball. In terms of the playoffs, I would assume that Cal Raleigh would just be starting every single game, because what choice do you have? If the Mariners make it to the playoffs, you're not going to throw Brian O'Keefe or Luis Torrens out there to catch. You're just not. And for Tom, this is his contract year. He's 32 and a half years old. He'll be 33 at the beginning of next season. I think that this comes at a really bad time for him because the Mariners know what Tom Murphy can be, but he has definitely been marred by injuries throughout his career lately. And is he going to be able to get a good contract anywhere? I'm not sure with these injuries. So maybe it works out for the Mariners that they can re-sign him as a backup catcher. And before anybody mentions Harry Ford's name, he's in single A, guys. Harry Ford is not ready for the big league. The Mariners have been going through a rough patch lately, and this just kind of added to what had already been a really hard month of September. Ideally, Tom Murphy can come back around the end of the season and make a run at the playoffs with the Seattle Mariners, but for now, we'll just have to wait and see. And again, the Mariners have been playing pretty poorly lately. There's got to be a glimmer of hope somewhere, right? Well, we have that video on the screen right now. Go ahead and check that one out. Appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.